This is Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Our very special guest today is the Honorable Debjani Desai. She is the Cook County Circuit Court Judge. And she was recently appointed, but now she is running to keep her seat. Welcome, Debjani.
Thank you, Trudy, and thank you to Community Unity Now for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you inviting me to speak here today.
Well, there's so much that we love to learn about you, because usually when voters go into the voting booth, they see that the long list of judges on one side of the ballot, and they don't know who anyone is. So first of all, tell us how you got appointed to the Cook County Circuit Court, and whether you had to apply.
Sure. So the process of applying is relatively easy. When a judge retires, a circuit court judge retires, that opens up a vacancy, and the Illinois Supreme Court then has an opportunity to fill that vacancy. So they put out an application. It's usually several pages, 30 pages or so, of questions about an applicant's background, their family, where they live, the type of practice that they have engaged in, why they want to be a judge, and several questions like that. And several people apply, many people who have been trying to be judge for quite some time, and some people who just want to see if it's something that they're able to do. And the Illinois Supreme Court also asks for each candidate to be rated by the Alliance of Bar Associations that produces ratings for all of the candidates that apply to them. And then once they have a packet of information, I think this round for the vacancy that I had applied for had about 80 applicants. And after the Illinois Supreme Court justice or justices select you, they may ask you to go through a screening committee that they selected, who then asks you more questions about everything under the sun, basically. And at that point, if the Illinois Supreme Court selects you, they appoint you to the seat.
Mm-hmm. How long was that screening? When they kept on asking you questions, was it an hour? Was it more?
So Chief Justice Tice has a screening committee, and I would say I was probably in her screening committee meeting for about 45 minutes. Several lawyers, different practices, different practice areas, different practice, amount of time that they've been practicing. So it's a very diverse group of individuals asking different questions about why I'm seeking to be a judge.
Mm-hmm. And those that are on the committee, were they randomly selected to be on the committee? Do you know how those judges, or are they lawyers that sit on the committee?
Sure, they are lawyers. Some are retired judges. It's not a random selection. The Illinois Supreme Court, and each justice who has a screening committee handpicks each person. Has, I'm sure, a vetting process as to why that person sits on their screening committee, but these are trusted individuals to that Supreme Court justice, and the legal community. All are very upstanding citizens and lawyers, and very well respected.
Are you allowed to know what your rating was that they gave you?
So her screening committee only screens as to whether they basically give me a pass or not on the appointment. The screening committee that gives recommendations about whether somebody is highly qualified, recommended, or highly recommended, that comes from the Alliance of Bar Associations. The Alliance of Bar Associations is a group of 13 or 14 affinity bar associations, such as the Asian American Bar Association, the Arab American Bar Association, Puerto Rican Bar Association. And so a lot of these bar associations who then get together to rate candidates who are running for judge, whether through the associate process or through a public election.
And do you know protocol, what they judge those, how they screen, what are the rules and
Yes.
that they use? Because is it similar to what the Chicago Bar Association uses for judicial evaluation, or is it different? Do you know?
Yes, it's pretty similar to the Chicago Bar Association. So the Chicago Bar Association has their own screening process for people who are running for judge or judges who are running for retention. They make you fill out again like a 30-page document with all kinds of questions about background and practice. And the Alliance of Bar Associations does the exact same thing. They have you fill it out, and then they have investigators made up of different members of the legal community who are part of those bar associations to do an investigation on the individual. So they call on-list contacts, they call off-list contacts, they call lawyers and judges, people who you worked with, people who you have had cases against, whoever they can communicate with to tell them a little bit about the candidate. And then that each bar association issues their own rating. So all of those 13 or 14 bar associations will give out a rating, and that comprises the Alliance of Bar Associations.
So each bar association gives out their own rating, and then all 13 ratings are compiled together to give a single rating. Is that what you mean?
No, so the Alliance of Bar Associations is just basically the umbrella name for all of those bar associations.
I see.
So what happens is once the candidate is rated, they get one letter that has like 13 ratings on it. So the Asian American Bar Association and Decalogue Society, you'll see all your ratings there. And then that's separate from the Chicago Bar Association. That Chicago Bar Association does their own letter. They are not part of the alliance. And so several ratings, all encompassed by the alliance, and then the Chicago Bar Association is separate.
And can you share with us your answer to the question, why do you want to be a judge?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite questions. I went into public service right away out of law school. I was a law clerk in different courthouses, and I felt very early on a sense of duty. I felt I had a duty to participate in the system. And for that system, because I was a public servant and served so many different communities, for that system to have honesty and integrity and just
I think
honesty,
that
integrity in the decisions that come out of it, I feel that it has to reflect the community. It has to reflect the diversity of the community, not just background, but qualifications. And it also has to reflect the legal community. Otherwise, you can't trust the system. I always felt that anything that's homogenous, is a little concerning because it may only represent one set of community or one set of individuals. And so because I had such a diverse background, because I have such a diverse practice and skill set, I thought that I would be a great fit for the judiciary. And it goes right along with my public service. This is how I think I can best serve the public.
And so you have been a judge before, and you have been what other type of judge before?
So I was an administrative law judge, which is quite different. It's not an appointed position. It is a position with an agency. I worked for Healthcare and Family Services, which is the state's Medicaid agency. So I heard appeals brought by Medicaid recipients, people who had child support cases. Basically, if you appealed something that the state did to affect your rights, I would hear those appeals. But similar to what circuit court judges do is I would have litigants come before me and I would hear their case. I would give them their opportunity to provide, provide a meaningful hearing, and I would review their case. The main difference is I didn't have binding authority. So any decision that I made would go to the director of that agency for a final decision. So that was the main difference between the type of judge I used to be, an administrative law judge, and the type of judge I am now.
So what you were doing was giving a legal opinion, a legal recommendation for the agency.
Yes, they were called recommended decisions.
You said that you wanted to be a judge and be a lawyer to bring diversity, more diversity to the legal community. In all your different roles, how were you able to accomplish some of that?
I got involved very early on, not just as a law student, but as a young lawyer in bar associations because they are there to serve not just the legal community, but the community at large. They provide for pro bono clinics, they provide resources to young lawyers, students, and they provide resources for professional development. So I started going to the Asian American Bar Association meetings and joined their membership, and the South Asian Bar Association's meetings, and I joined their membership. And after a couple years, I joined their leadership, and I've been a leader in the bar associations now for over a decade, either as an officer or a board member, because I really feel it's important for now us lawyers who are a little senior. I'm not a new lawyer. I've been practicing for almost 16 years to give back, not to new lawyers who are coming in and kind of teach them the ropes, and also to continue to help the community in a way where I have this perspective because I've been involved for so long. And so that is so important because those bar associations really are there to provide resources in different areas of the community.
We recently learned that bar associations do trainings and also apprise their members of new trends. In your years in these two bar associations and in the other bar associations as well, what kind of trends have you seen?
Yeah. So, one thing that I'm really happy to see is a trend towards diversifying law firms, partnerships, equity partnerships, really diversifying the practice of law and taking diversity, equity, and inclusion seriously. That was not something that was very popular when I first joined the legal profession, and I've seen it grow. And what's important about that is I remember a statistic that really bothers me still to this day. A very good friend of mine who's a brilliant attorney, she worked for a very big law firm, and she said that and this was a global law firm, and she said, at least in the United States, that there were only 11 Asian women in top leadership at this firm. And it just blew my mind because while there were a lot of Asian Americans in that law firm, none of them had reached a equity partnership or a top managing partnership level. And I think that has changed. And so the trend has been to do training, to educate in-house counsel, lawyers, public servants, in every area of the legal community to make sure that we are not just diversifying based on background, diversifying based on qualifications as well.
Why has it changed? Why do the big law firms now decide to diversify? Are they being forced to diversify, or is it they want to attract maybe lawyers that are diverse lawyers? Why do they now want to diversify?
It's both of those things. They want to attract top legal talent, many of whom are diverse, but also I know friends who have left law firms because they do not appreciate diversity, equity, inclusion. And one of the best examples I can give is a lawyer who I know who has worked in-house in very, very big global corporations, left because that organization, and she was an in-house counsel, she left because they did not celebrate Martin Luther King holiday. And she thought that was important enough and has been part of our community and part of our history, and a very important one. And the fact that that organization did not celebrate it, did not acknowledge it, it was enough for her to leave. And so they're losing talent. They're unable to attract talent without that piece. And so most of these law firms and most organizations, public and private sector, usually have a DEI recruiter or a director of DEI. And so that has been an incredible trend to see over the last 10, 15 years.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. When that the law firm that you spoke of that did not celebrate Martin Luther King Day, Junior Day, do you know if that firm is celebrating the holiday now?
I don't know. It's a
Oh,
good
that's okay.
question. I should follow up with her. I hope because and one of the things that we have to do, and while nobody likes to burn bridges, when we leave organizations, we should have a we should let the organization know why and what's important, because otherwise they're not going to change. And I think she did let them know, and so I truly hope that they changed that policy.
Do you know if there were other attorneys that also left the firm because of that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, that's okay. You were also served as General Counsel for the Illinois Office of Comptroller. So that's like the department of the Illinois government that oversees all the money and the payments, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I worked for Susana Mendoza, who is still the comptroller for the state of Illinois. She's a constitutional officer. It was a wonderful, wonderful place to work.
And how did all that work help you be a judge now?
Yeah, I've gotten this question before, and it's interesting because as in-house, as general counsel, I wore multiple hats. So I had to deal with litigation, I had to deal with labor and employment, I had to deal with finance, I had to deal with personnel matters. And so not every day wasn't the same, very unlike what I do now. When I'm in a courtroom, I have cases every day. I have to manage them, manage the courtroom in a similar way. What was great about what being general counsel taught me was to think on my feet, to make sure that anything I'm doing on a daily basis, I maintain a proper temperament, and it diversified my skill set as far as the different types of law that I came across. And I think that's so helpful to have that broad knowledge of different laws, because at any given point in time, I could be transferred to a different courtroom to deal with a different set of laws that I may not have been familiar with. So I think it really helped me grow professionally to be able to handle a lot more than I had previously in the other areas of law that I've practiced in.
Right now, you're you're presiding in the traffic division. So is that all you hear are traffic cases?
Yeah, so I hear traffic cases, petty offenses, so anything from failure to stop at a stop sign or running a red light to misdemeanor cases like driving under the influence or fleeing and eluding. And so it's a wide array of cases. Different law enforcement brings these cases, whether it's Illinois State Police or Chicago Police or Metro Police. There's wherever there's law enforcement that issues these types of tickets, I hear those cases.
And are there enough judges to hear the cases that are in the docket? Is there a backup?
There's not a backlog. We are fully staffed in traffic. We have to be, because there are so many cases. There have been days where we have 100 cases for the 9 o'clock call, 50 cases on the 10 o'clock call, 80 cases on the 11 o'clock call. So you're just going through, and you have to be very efficient, very organized, but also have the proper temperament, because most of these cases, 90% of traffic court is Zoom. So we are Zooming in from our chambers. 2 of the rooms are in person. And so when we're Zooming in and there's 100 people in your Zoom, and some people have attorneys coming in, some people have family members, there's the interpreters, just different variables. It can seem like a lot, but we always get through it. And but thankfully we are fully staffed, because there are days where if judges are out, we are handling 2 courtrooms at a time, and that can get a little overwhelming, but we make it work.
How many fellow judges in the traffic division do you have?
Gosh, if I think we have 16 or 17 judges.
And that's for the entire Cook County?
So that's for the daily center traffic. I think the suburban courthouses have may have a traffic room or two, but um, we hear the majority of the cases.
And is it sometimes uh, the the defendant may be on Zoom, but the attorney might be in person, or are they usually together?
Yeah, so they're usually together. If you want a case heard in person, it usually has to get set in person. And so otherwise, if it's not set in person, it's going to be via Zoom.
When you advocated for victims as a prosecutor of financial crimes, so and public corruption, could you tell us a little bit about that? That was in your background. That is in your
Yes,
background.
absolutely. Yeah. So that was an interesting place at the state's attorney's office because we worked our cases from inception to through trial, through post trial. What would happen is law enforcement or even regular individuals in the community would come to us saying, "Hey, I'll give you an example. A jewelry store owner said, "Hey, one of my employees has been stealing from me. I need you to review this case." And so I would take on that case. I would review all of the information that they provided. We may use the grand jury to subpoena bank records and other things to review whether there was sufficient evidence to move forward with the case and indict the case. And so if we did indict it, went through I would see the case all the way through to the end, which is unlike some of how the other felony courtrooms work, where state's attorneys just receive cases that have already been charged. And so I heard different cases such as theft over $100,000, financial crimes, enterprise, conspiracy. So there's a whole gamut of financial crimes that I heard there.
You said that once they're indicted, they kind of stay with you for the entire.
Yes. Yes.
What about like being? I'm actually I've been hacked on social media, and then it's like almost like identity theft. I haven't lost financially yet, but there's so much. My privacy was definitely breached. How does that apply to any law in Illinois and cases that you've seen that maybe I could I could it's just some advice about
Yeah.
what you have seen and then what you recommend that I could do legally.
Yeah, so we've seen just a trend of I don't want to call them new crimes, but they're crimes that we haven't been as familiar with, such as identity theft, as far as the ways people have been stealing identity through whether it's social media or other online means. I think things have been getting pretty complex there. And so you can always call the state's attorney's office and see if somebody will review that case. At least as it pertained to financial crimes, there used to have to be a dollar amount that was at issue. But there are other divisions there that could potentially hear that. Now, you may not be able to call the state's attorney's office for every one of those cases. You usually will have to call your law enforcement, your local law enforcement. So you would call the Chicago Police Department or whatever suburban police department to review that case to see if there's enough information to proceed on it. That's your first stop, is to call your local law enforcement usually, but every now and then the state's attorney's office has a unique division that may directly hear it. It just depends on the type of crime.
Okay. Well, Debjani, if our viewers want to learn more about you, where should they go? And if they want
They can
to
go to,
ask further questions.
thank you. They can go to www.judgedesai, JUDGEDESAI.com. And there's ways to contact me via email. I have a whole team. I'm ready to talk to whoever. I'm willing to talk to whoever. This is something I'm very passionate about, and I'd love to connect with people. So please visit me at www.judgedesai.com.
Thank you so much, Cook County Circuit Court Judge Debjani Desai, who is running to keep her seat in the upcoming March 2024 election. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining
Trudy.
us.
It's been a pleasure. I truly appreciate it. Thank you, and have a great evening.
You too. This has been Community Unity Now, and I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for watching.